Welcome, of course, to the Thunderdome Puckcast. Before we get going with this special edition episode, like we usually do, let's hit that intro. All right, everybody. Happy Monday. We're getting through there. I always feel like I'm saying happy whatever day it is. It's a happy day. And today is the most happiest of days because it's playoff eve, a day we didn't think was going to come, a day where college football is basically falling apart right in front of us, but we still have the NHL playoffs, and it starts tomorrow with your Tampa Bay Lightning first up on the docket against the Columbus Blue Jackets. Of course, we'll preview that matchup along with the first four matchups of day one of round one of the Stanley Cup playoffs for part one of this episode, episode 21, part one. And then we'll do our episode tomorrow night, episode 21, part B, or part two, for the second half of the series, the other four. And we'll probably have a special live reaction on Facebook. So, of course, if you prefer audio, you can find us on your favorite podcasting platforms: Apple Podcasts, Google, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. Big on Spotify. Episode 20 has already gotten a couple good hits. So thank you guys. I know lots of family and friends out there supporting, listening in the car on the ride to and from work. So we appreciate that. Make sure to download that. Give it a star and give it a 5-star review if you like the show on your favorite podcasting platform. Episode 20 doing well so far. It was a great episode. I was really, really happy to put that out there for you guys. So this should be a short and sweet episode. Not a lot of fluff. No talking about what's going on in the NHL. We'll talk a little bit of what's going on with the Lightning and some injury news. But we really just want to get right to it, right? Get to the main course, all four games. We're going to go chronologically, not counting the Lightning, because Lightning are first up, but I want to leave them last. We'll go to topic cam. So you have the matchup, the tail of the tape, right in front of you. In the first series, we're going to talk about kind of a strange series. This one, I didn't really know what to do with for the most part. And that's Calgary-Dallas. This is was it Dallas kind of jumping up to the third seed after St. Louis? Kind of the same deal as Boston, not playing well in the qualifying round or the round robin and dropping down to the 4 seed, kind of like the Bruins and the Blues falling down to the 4 seed. So Dallas jumping up to 3, and Calgary coming through as the 8th seed, I believe. So I think they're the quasi 6, right? If you reseed everyone 1 through 8. So this is your 3-6 matchup. And this, in my opinion, this is as close as it gets. And definitely the closest matchup of the first 4. I haven't done my tail of the tape yet for the second matchups for tomorrow. So we'll see if there's another matchup that's really close there. If I had to guess, it's probably going to be, oh man, I don't know. I just can't even think off the top of my head what the close matchup is going to be tomorrow. Well, you'll have to wait and see for tail of the tape to see. I usually do some of the data crunching to see right day of the show. So this is, I think, the closest series on paper and with numbers. I sat on this decision quite a bit, and you'll see the big yellow check mark next to Calgary. I mean, I thought about this. This slide actually probably took me the longest because I didn't know who I wanted my ultimate choice to be. And we'll go through why we're going with the Calgary Flames right now, in fact. We always start with offense, and it's no question that the Calgary offense has been among the top in the league this year. Uh, when you're looking in terms of just goals for, uh, Calgary kind of mid-tier, Dallas. When you're comparing those two, Dallas is, I think, worst, second or third worst in the league in terms of goals scored. So, the Flames offense has been good. It has flickers of greatness, but overall mediocre for the year. But much better than Dallas. So you gotta give them the heads up there, the thumbs up. When you're looking in terms of team scoring, I was actually surprised it was Matthew Tkachuk leading the way for the Flames in terms of total scoring. And Elias Lindholm actually led the team in goals. You would think it was Johnny Gaudreau. He played a full slate of games, so Johnny Hockey, a little bit of a down year, only 58 points. He was a -10 for the year. And it was actually, Matthew Tkachuk leading the way. And we talked a little bit about Sean Moynihan earlier, about 2 or 3 podcasts ago, I guess when we were previewing the Flames Jets series. I think he's a guy to watch. Michael Backlund's had a pretty decent year as well, but you're kind of comparing the Dallas Stars and how their scoring has been. It's been interesting. I mean, Tyler Seguin was a 50-point guy. As the most points. Jamie Benn down here, 39 points, and again, these are all with full seasons played. I mean, Jamie Benn 69 games, Tyler Seguin 69, Heiskanen with 68. I mean, 50, 39, 35. They just couldn't find the back of the net. Radulov 60 games played, 34 points. I think that's really why I lean towards Calgary, because when you're looking on the defensive side of the puck, I mean, it's pretty much a dead heat when you're looking at statistics. And I know I've said this time and again, what good are statistics 5 months away from, when the sample data is being pulled, right, from March, the last time these teams played. But to be honest with you, we've seen a lot of trends continue somehow into the play-in rounds and the round robins. So I'm gonna go with that. I'm gonna go and trust my data, and let's look at the defensive categories here between the two teams, and really some of the numbers we were looking at. Of course, shots against. I guess the Flames have given up about 100 shots more, but really it's looking again 5-on-5 play. Dallas on average right at 50-ish percent, 49.6. You're going to call it on your Corsi, Fenwick, right at the 50% mark. And actually pretty similar to Calgary's carrying of play. But again, it comes down to scoring chances allowed. And Dallas allowed 100 less than Calgary over the year. However, you got to look at high danger. So how are they protecting high danger areas? Are the shots coming from the periphery, or is it right in the slot, right in front of the net? And this is really where Dallas made a difference in defense. I was going to give the edge on defense to Dallas because overall they only gave up 174 goals this year compared to Calgary's 214. But it's all about those danger chances, and Calgary only gave up 158 high danger chances versus Dallas' defense giving a 181. So conversion rates are pretty similar. Opposition conversion rates of 13.8, 13.7. I'm going to put defense at a dead heat there. So here's where it's controversial, is goaltending. And I gave the check mark to Dallas here. I gave them the advantage in goaltending, mostly because I was really thrown off by the decision to start Cam Talbot by the Calgary Flames. Seemed to work out. Worked out pretty well against the Jets. There's a big question mark in net for Dallas. We thought it was going to be Ben Bishop. I guess apparently once again battling some injuries. Injuries have been his bugaboo man, since his time with the Lightning. So I think we have to expect that Anton Khudobin's going to start. And I actually didn't know, but Anton Khudobin, again, looking statistics, has better numbers than Ben Bishop, and I didn't actually know that. And I think what blows my mind, though, is looking at we talked about these statistics when we were comparing the qualifying rounds. It's a stat that I like called goals saved above average. And the definition of this: the goals this goalie prevented given his save percentage and shots faced versus the league average save percentage on the same number of shots. So, in this measure, Ben Bishop performed above average at a 13.2, but Khudobin's even higher at a 1775. And when you're looking at Vezina candidates, where's Hellebuck here? Let's go down to Winnipeg. Hellebuck's at a 22.4. I think he's going to win the Vezina. And when you're looking at someone like Vasilevsky's right in that kind of, even lower at a 12.13. So I think this pays dividend. This really talks about Dallas's defense being pretty decent, but also Khudobin's play has been pretty stellar. So he's a name I know. He's gotten some pretty even reps at goal. I think he started 30 games this year, it looks like, or played in 30 games this year versus Talbot's 26. So I gave the edge to Dallas here. Power play, penalty kill, really a small edge. And I want to say it's in PK. Don't quote me there. PK, 79% for Dallas, 82% for the Flames. And when you're looking at power plays, they're both at 21.1%. So slight advantage on the PK to Dallas. They're both taking about 8 to 9 penalties, or 8 to 9 penalty minutes a game. So anywhere between 4 to 5 penalties a game. So this is, what I can tell you is I feel like this series is going to be pretty, it could be pretty tight. And again, depends on the goaltending you're going to get from Talbot. I think we know what we're going to get from Khudobin. I think these are games where we might stay away from the over-unders for these. Of course, spoiler alert, special edition of $10 Sports coming your way as well, picking these games, some of the bets for these games. So I think it's going to be a tight game. We're going to see which defense is going to prevail, and I just still think that Calgary has that firepower in them. Younger team, and I think they can build to grind. They're built to grind. Coaching advantage. I think this is right. Both teams with interim coaches. Is that the case? I think, right? And it's Bonus, former Lightning assistant coach, long time, taking the helm in Dallas, and he's someone I don't think that's been an outright head coach, but has just countless years of assistant coach experience. I think Dallas is in good hands, at least on an interim basis, with Bonus as their coach. Clear advantage there. But overall, like I said, this series was so tough to call. But I got to go with Calgary here. Calgary's the official Moose call for this series. All right, let's move on to the next series. Next series is your Carolina-Boston series. And what a disappointment Boston was in the round robin. I don't think any of us are very sad to say that, at least if you're Lightning fans like most of our listeners. But man, Boston looks so bad in all three games. I mean, some rays of sunshine and some glimmers of life against the Lightning, getting them pretty close. Lightning breaking the tie in the closing minutes of that game, of that round robin game. But overall, just looking pretty bad against the Flyers and just lifeless against Washington. So you have the President's winning team dropping down to the 4 seed, and they're going to play a gritty Carolina team that I think has a lot to prove. The potential to play for more time. So Dougie Hamilton's back and fully recovered from an injury. They're grinding, and I think they have a lot of unsung heroes. No one talks about Carolina a whole lot, right? Sebastian Aho, I think, is such an I think he's already a star, but he up and coming and hopefully deserving of more attention. Jacob Slavin, and a few others on their back line, on their blue line, are unquestionably stars in this league. They just play in Carolina, so they don't get so much attention. The question mark for Carolina has always been goaltending, and even in the qualifying round, we didn't know if it was going to be Peter Mazarek or if it was going to be James Reimer. And ended up being a little bit of both, and it seemed like Reimer won that outright in their series against the Rangers. Looked pretty good. My bet is going to be that he's going to get the start against the Bruins. So, tail of the tape, you have it right there in front of you. And it doesn't look pretty. I mean, there are no check marks at all on the Carolina side. Probably going to make like an intangibles column, or check mark for what team has the intangibles or who's streaking right now, because let me tell you, Boston is not playing well. They weren't really playing particularly well coming into the pause, and I don't know. I mean, I thought we were going to get a better performance from them. A little bit of drama with, did someone have COVID? Did someone not have COVID? If people have had COVID, the NHL has done a pretty good job at covering that up. A little bit of drama with, was it Pasternak? I think, is he coming to camp? Is he not coming to camp? And it's been quiet. Haven't heard much about Brad Marchand. Haven't heard much about much of the other offensive producers. And Tuukka's look pretty average. But when you're looking at the stats, you got to go on their body of work. And, I mean, Boston has just dominated most of the year. They're not the President's Trophy winner for no reason. You're looking at a top 5 power play. Top 5 power, yeah. A top 1 power play. Sorry about that misquote there. Best power play in the league. You're looking at a penalty kill that's number 3 in the league. I mean, this is, again, a team on paper that is absolutely complete and built to win the Stanley Cup this year, but they're not putting it together right now. So I think it could be pretty fortunate that the Canes are matching up with them in the first round, because I think they could potentially be built to give them some trouble. I don't know if they win the series. I think this goes 6 or 7 games with Boston prevailing. So offensive numbers, of course, Boston scoring 227 for the year, Carolina 217. I give Boston the edge on offense, again, just taking into consideration high danger chances. Actually, Carolina higher on the high danger chances 4, but it's really the conversion rate that. It doesn't matter if you get the high danger chances, but if you're not converting, what's the point? And Boston is lethal. I think they're number 3 in the league, about 18% converting on their chances from high danger zones. Carolina is down near the bottom at 13.5%. So Boston's offense has a chance to be more lethal. I think Carolina, on the average, has gotten more chances, but Boston is able to put the puck in the net. Defense, same reasons. When you're looking at chances given up by the opposition, conversion rate, only 10% for Boston opponents from high danger chances, and they've only given up really 1,100 scoring chances against, which is even less than Carolina. Carolina has a pretty good defense. You're looking goals against. I think Boston wins the Jennings Trophy again this year. Right? Yeah, of course they do. So Tuukka Rask, another Jennings Trophy for him. PK and power play, we talked about that. Boston is first in power play, third in PK. Distinctive advantages there. In terms of penalty minutes per game, what to expect. Boston's taken about 5 penalties a game on average, 5 minors, so they're at 10 minutes. This is where Carolina's got to hopefully control the hurt, keeping their penalty time down. But they're about 9 minutes on average a game, so right up there with Boston. You're looking at maybe four advantages aside for the game, given the rules for the officiating in the playoffs. So the big scorers for each team, of course. Well, let's look at the goaltending stats. Tuukka Rask having again, pretty good year. We talked about the GSAA, 22.5 for him. That's right up there with Connor Hellebuck. 41, 26, and 8 for Tuukka Rask. Pretty amazing. 26, 8, and 6. Pretty great record for Tuukka. Reimer, of course, is likely going to get the start for the Hurricanes. Pretty good year. I mean, 14, 6, and 2. Again, he wasn't figured to get most of the starts, but started getting more of the starts toward the end of the season prior to the break. Above average on the GSAA, so I'll take that. And nearing a .92 save percentage, 2.66. But again, every fraction makes such a big difference in the playoffs. And this is, again, I got to go with Boston's experience here. I mean, I know Carolina made a run last year, but Boston is just so experienced, and I think they turned it around in time for this. So the official tail of tape pick for the Sports Moose here, it's Boston over Carolina, probably in 6. Or this one could go 7, and don't be surprised if Carolina pulls it off. But I can't make that official call. Going with the Bruins on this one. Third game, I think it's the primetime game, right? Lightning, of course, playing at 3 Eastern tomorrow. I think Dallas, Calgary at 5. I think the Carolina-Boston game is the prime time. Then late game out of Edmonton, of course. It's always weird when the Blackhawks end up with the late game. But you got the Blackhawks coming in against the Vegas Golden Knights. This is a really intriguing matchup for me, in my opinion. Of course, first time they ever meet in the playoffs, I believe. Blackhawks really not given much of a chance to survive against the Oilers, and they took them out in 4. I mean, absolutely amazing display by the Blackhawks. It just doesn't matter with that team because they could be the 12th seed, they could be the worst team in the league. They always have the potential to strike quickly and to get on a run. And I don't know if this is what we're seeing here. I think, in theory, they were supposed to be outmatched by the Oilers. But I think we're going to get better goaltending here because Robin Lehner's got something to prove. This is a little bit of drama here. Of course, Robin Lehner being traded away by the Hawks at the trade deadline. He's got a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, something to prove against the Hawks. So fully expect him to get the start in Game 1 for the Vegas Golden Knights, and Corey Crawford in net for the Hawks. So let's look at some of those numbers for, I didn't talk about the basic stats here for Boston and Carolina, so let me do that pretty quickly. Going back to Boston, Carolina, I kind of jumped over. Pasternak having a great year, 95 points, 48 goals. I think he's number 1 in goal scoring in the league, or was it Draisaitl? Marchand, again, great regular season, a little bit quiet on the playoff front or in the round robin front. 87 points, 59 helpers for him. Then kind of a little bit of a drop off there, 56 for Bergeron. And Torrey Krug actually having a pretty solid year on D. 49 points, 40 assists for him. So pretty good season for Krug. And again, some of the big scores for Carolina. We all know about Sebastian Aho, 66-point season for him. A little bit of a spread here, a little bit spreading the love here. Tervainen, 63 points, 48 assists for him. I think that's a team high. And the most goals, I think Sebastian Aho had 38 for Carolina, up and coming Sneshtikov, and I think that line was pretty deadly. I think they put all three of them together. Uh, Again, 24 goals for him, 61 kind of on the young front. Hopefully getting back Dougie Hamilton, 14 goals from the blue line. I didn't know his goal total was that high. So hopefully he's one that they can get back. And then, of course, a great season from Joel Edmondson. And we talked a little bit about Jacob Slavin, Brett Pesci as well. All right. Now let's jump to full Hawks Vegas mode. And these, again, are really interesting statistics because, again, Hawks statistically slightly better than Montreal. So, 23rd out of the 24 teams that got into the playoffs in terms of winning percentage. And, looking at the tail of the tape, really not too many advantages on paper for the Hawks. Offense, Vegas has been pretty lights out, even in comparison to an offense that usually is great, like the Blackhawks. Blackhawks above average offense this year, but Vegas was on another level, 224 goals for, and that puts them about 8th or 7th in the league. And again, Blackhawks right smack dab in the middle with 208. But like we've done with the other matchups, you like looking at those scoring chances generated and looking at, Vegas is usually I think they lead the league. Scoring chances 4. So when you're looking at on average of a game, they're controlling the scoring chances by 57 to 43% margin, which is pretty spectacular. Thing is that the Hawks have had 252 high danger against. So that's really where I'm getting some of the knocks on their defense this year. Their defense not as shut down as they normally have been. Of course, a big story with Brent Seabrook probably being shipped off later this year. Didn't even make the cut for the roster to play. So a little bit of a decline there. But Vegas, again, more high danger scoring chances in their favor. And then we're looking at conversion percentage, 13% to 10%. Those little percentages make a difference in the grand scheme of things, especially in a tight series. Opposition conversion was pretty dead on at 12.9% for both sides. So again, really looking at that difference in 3% for the conversion rate, and that's really why I'm giving the offensive the thumbs up. In terms of defense, again, just looking at goals against average, or goals against in general, pretty even for the most part. But again, when you're looking at defensive measures and even 5-on-5 play, Vegas just carrying play on average a little bit more, pretty heavily, in fact. So for me, that kind of begs the question of how their defense is doing. So thumbs up for defense, or a check mark for defense for Vegas. Really where there's a little bit of a swing and a potential check mark for Chicago is in goaltending. Again, this has to do with experience of Corey Crawford, multiple cups versus Robert Lehner, who's just kind of happy to be sniffing the playoffs. I think he was on the Islanders last year, right? He was starting for the Islanders and was part of the team. Was he part of the team, or was that Halak? I forget. To finally win a playoff series. First time quite a bit that the Islanders had moved on. So, goaltending. Let's look at those goaltending numbers more closely. Again, Corey Crawford, pretty good year. I mean, again, we talked about the GSAA at a 9 versus, you're looking at Robin Lehner actually performing a little bit at a 12. And I have Marc-Andre Fleury highlighted because you never know with the coaching if he ends up starting, or if things don't go well with Lehner. He's at a minus 6.5 and really has had a subpar year, barely a 900 save percentage, goals against average of 2.77. Again, of course, Robin Lehner a little bit higher than Flower on the GAA, but again, part of that was playing in Chicago with not a great defense in front of him. save percentage is pretty adequate at a 9.20. So I fully expect Leonard to get the start, but you got to give Corey Crawford. Uh, you gotta consider it even at least in terms of goaltending between the two. Because Leonard's playing hot and Crawford's got the experience, and their numbers have been pretty similar. Power play and penalty kill, again, I think both are pretty similar. Let's take a look at those numbers specifically. So Blackhawks, 82 on the kill, 76 on the kill for the Knights. But then you kind of flop that. Hawks have the worst, one of the worst penalty power plays in the league. And the Knights are among the best, 22% versus 15.5%. So we're going to call that a wash. Maybe a slight advantage to the Golden Knights. Penalty minutes per game, they're both at 8 minutes a game, so you're looking at 3 to 4 opportunities in the playoff environment. Coaching, you got to give it to DeBauer. Jumping in there, take over Vegas. A lot of drama earlier in the year with some of the firings. What's the name of the Chicago coach? It's like the youngest coach in the league. I just don't think he's got the experience yet. The edge has got to go to DeBauer. And then overall, it's got to be Vegas. I think this could be an intriguing series, but overall, I think it's Vegas powers through this one. I think Chicago overperformed against Oilers, and I also think the Oilers are just a cursed franchise, so maybe that's part of it. But I think the Vegas Golden Knights get the job done here. Yeah, maybe a 5 or 6 game series. No way this goes 7, but I think the Vegas Knights get this done. All right, series we've all been waiting for, of course. Well, before we do that, let's look at the numbers. Vegas had some pretty spread out play. Patches, Max Pacioretty, he's supposed to be back. They were expecting him back for tomorrow's game, so he hadn't played at all during the qualifiers. So Vegas actually even getting better. Mark Stone leading the way and Riley Smith. Marchessault, I always loved him with the Lightning, and even when he went to the Panthers, he was great. I love Jonathan Marchessault. He just was kind of the odd man out, similar to Vlad Nemestikov. We just had too much talent. But I'm glad he made it over to Vegas and has been a stalwart there. Pretty good producer. Almost a 50-point season for Marchessault. Of course, William Karlsson kind of coming down from his ceiling last year. Last year, definitely a little bit of overachieving. And, of course, the numbers for the Blackhawks. Down year across the board. Kubalik, we've sung his praises multiple times. Almost a 50-point year. 30 goals as a rookie that he's going to win the Calder. We've talked about Alex DeBrincat, 45-point season for him. Patrick Kane had a sneaky good year. Not a lot of noise. 33 goals, 51 assists, and playing there with Jonathan Taves. Man, it's a shame that they're kind of on the decline because Kubalik's going to be so good. And if you can get 1 or 2 years of them playing, while they're kind of coming off of their prime and he's raising up to his, I think Chicago could be good as long as they get dependable goaltending from Corey Crawford the next few years until the end. Duncan Keith kind of getting up there in age as well. He's probably got a year or 2 left in the tank. So, all right, series we've all been waiting for. Excited to talk about it, but at the time a little scared to talk about it. Lightning seeing a familiar foe, and I don't think we'll ever live down the disaster that was last season. Still talk about it, still think about it, still watch the many videos making fun of the Lightning. Oh my gosh, it was amazing how things worked out. Kind of a dud against the Flyers, right? Knowing that we're going to get stuck into the 2 seed. Just kind of salivating at, wow, if we can pull off a win against the Flyers, we get Montreal, and we know we can handle Montreal, despite whatever effort Carey Price is going to give. But Columbus, you have that seed of doubt in your mind from the series last year, but it's so important that we divorce those ideas immediately as a coach and as a team. You gotta. That was last year. In theory, that team is worse. No Bobrovsky. Could argue that Merzlikins or Corpusalo are playing at or better than he was, but neither here nor there. Lost the bread man, Panarin going to the Rangers, a few others departing, but then you've had the rise of Pierre-Luc Dubois. Oh, I didn't pull their stats. Well, I want to talk about him. I don't think his name was Pierre. What am I doing? Is it Jean-Luc? Pierre-Luc? I should know this. Pierre, it was Pierre. Pierre-Luc. I knew my Columbus Blue Jackets players. But the rise of Pierre-Luc Dubois, Gustav Nyquist, again, a pretty sneaky signing from the Detroit Red Wings. Werenski, good season. Bjorkstrand, even Nick Foligno, getting up in age but still producing. And Seth Jones, always a solid fixture on D. So this is a good team, but they had some key departures from last year. And, I just don't know. I think you're going to be dealing with the ghost of Christmas past, right? We'll have to see what team comes out. And the biggest concern, especially hearing Coop's press conference about the update on Hedman. I mean, honestly, it sounds like Hedman is done. Cooper tries to have a poker face, but that interview was, for me, was pretty telling with how direct he was. It seems pretty bad. I'm sure we'll get the news in September, October of what the injury was. But I don't expect Hedman in this series, let alone the playoffs. If he comes back, great. So now the big question is, do the Lightning have the depth to deal with, a pretty gritty attack? I think we're happy that we got the big rig. Looks like Blake Coleman is ready to drop the gloves. Looks like Goodrow is ready to grind and also contribute on the score sheet. And we've seen I think what the best effect of all this has been is we've seen some of our other players kind of pick up some extra grit. I mean, they're not taking crap. Face washing, and just before that was my knock on the Lightning, right? Was great offensive team, and you could even say great goaltending, great defense, but no grit, no emotion. They would let teams kind of control the game in terms of physicality. They out-hit the Philadelphia Flyers. We talked about that in our episode a day or two ago. I mean, Philly's a pretty physical team as well. Out-hit them, 2-1. So, we're able to play a grinding type of game. It's going to be a really interesting mix against, to see how John Tortorella prepares his guys and coaches this. But again, this is similar to Boston and Carolina. On paper, there's no advantage for Columbus at all, other than maybe some intangibles, or maybe they, in theory, wanted more because they've, again, they're coming in with the whole underdog story, but let's look at the offensive numbers. Lightning among the leaders in goals for in the season. In fact, number one for goals for the entire season. Columbus back down with 180. Unquestionable. It's unquestionable. Lightning have the advantage on offense. We don't even have to look at things like conversion percentage. And actually, it's pretty even, 15 to 14%. High danger chances. You're looking at Lightning 50 more, 206 to 158. I think what was most impressive, though, was when we're looking at defense, because you don't sometimes think of the Lightning as a defensive team. And they limited the high danger chances against, and the opponent's conversion only at 14%. So I like that. And only had 137 high danger chances, which actually led the league. 137 high danger chances against, which best in the league. But Columbus was right there, only a few behind in limiting that. So again, I'm really interested to see what this looks like on defense. But again, the big question mark is if Hedman's not there, how much of that is Hedman as our number one, unquestioned number one defensive stalwart? He takes up so much space there on the ice. He's got a great stick. I mean, some of the poke checks he's made this year, and even through the round robin, goal savers. So it's going to be up to McDonough to step up. It's going to be up to Sergachev to step up, and they're going to have to play beyond their means, for a round or 2 or 4, if we're not going to get Hedman back. So defense, Lightning get the check mark on statistics, and you could say personnel alone, but Hedman's a big hole, and that actually might be closer to a push. Looking at goaltending, of course, I got to give the edge to Vasilevsky because he has the experience. And he's played in the finals before. He's played in the playoffs pretty much almost every season that he's been with the Lightning. And you're getting a little bit of inexperience coming in, right? So even if it's Merzlikins, a little bit of injury trouble, didn't play this last game, game 5. Korpisalo came in and played great. And honestly, he's had a pretty stellar season. So even if it's him starting, seems like the troops rally around him and find a way to limit scoring chances against. So either you're going to have kind of a wild card in goal for Columbus, and that's okay. Merzlikins has been the story of the year. 12.1 when you're looking at GSAA. Almost a 9.25 save percentage. Goals against 2.3. I mean, he's the real deal. But again, giving Vasi nominated for another Vezina Trophy, the advantage here. PK and PP. Advantage goes to the Lightning. Slight advantage again. When you're looking at PK, Lightning, and Blue Jackets, pretty much in a dead heat, 81.5-ish%. But again, the advantage is going to be on the power play. Lightning in the top 5. Columbus only 16% on the power play. And Lightning are committing about 5 minors a game. They're second most penalized team in the league, where Columbus is actually the least penalized team in the league. So they have that going in their favor. They're going to have to keep to that in order to limit those power play chances, because again, the Lightning are shooting at about 25% or so, 24%. It's going to be a big factor. They've got to find a way to make sure they're playing 5-on-5. But even so, on 5-on-5, you're looking at your 5-on-5 indicators. Lightning carrying the play, 52.4, 51.8. Columbus has been kind of dragging a little bit, 49.1, 50.7. So I don't even know if they have an advantage at 5-on-5, but they got to keep it that way to have a chance. Coaching, of course, Tortorella, got to give the advantage to him, despite Coop being at the helm for 8 years. Torts has won a cup. He's been through some tough media. Knows how to work the media. Knows how to work the room. Knows how to work his team. You got to give the coaching advantage to Tortorella, especially after he essentially outcoached Coop last year. I mean, absolutely outcoached him. Coop had no response for change in tactics. I mean, Lightning were in the driver's seat for 1.5, 2 periods of that game, and were promptly kicked out. And then Columbus controlled games 2, 3, and 4 for the sweep. I mean, that was and period 3 of game 1. Just closing up with some statistics. Of course, overall pick's going to be the Bolts here. But I'm not too hopeful, especially if Hedman's not there and no Stamkos. It's going to be tough. It's going to take a group effort. Talked about Pierre-Luc Dubois and Gustav Nyquist on the Columbus side. Some pretty good seasons. Pretty great seasons on the Lightning scoring front as well. Kuch, of course, with 85 points. Stamkos limited a little bit with injury, 66 points. And Pointer, about a point per game average, 64 points for him. So that is the recap. Pretty excited that it's Hockey Eve. Hope you guys are excited as well. Hope you enjoyed the special edition episode 21 of the Puckcast. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter, of course. You can find me at moose_TSH. TSH, of course, for the Sports Heap, which is our mother organization, enterprise of podcasts, of course, Thunderdome podcast. Puckcast, this one that you're listening to is the big hockey one that we have. A couple shows coming up for you as well. Bucking Hangover should be kicking off soon as we near the NFL season, and that also means $10 sports coming your way soon. It's been your host of Sports Moose for episode 21 of Thunderdome Puckcast. Thank you for listening out there. Go Bolts, beat those Blue Jackets, beat those Demons. Hopefully we'll be talking to you next time with a victory in tow to analyze and hopefully celebrate. Have a great night. We'll see you next time here on the Thunderdome Puckcast. Take care.